Hi, I'm Doug Hescott.
I'm Michelle Hescott.
And we're Luke's parents.
Alright, first question. What is the difference in relationships in high school and college?
I think in high school, specifically dating relationships are a little bit more casual. I think it's more maybe expected in high school. And I think they're a little bit more casual. I think they're good. I think that gives them kids opportunities to explore relationships and find out what those are all about. I think once you get into college, you're looking, as you grow up, you're looking for that person that you might spend the rest of your life with. Mm-hmm. So you're a little bit more serious. Not that those relationships are going to continue for the rest of your college life and then you're going to get married, but those are a little bit more serious, I think, when you get into the older stages of life and you're looking for a partner.
Good answer.
Struggles you've had to face while you're in a high school relationship.
Let you start since I did.
Okay, I'll take that one. Well, he's 3 years older, than me, and so that was kind of a struggle, and we went to different high schools, and then he went to college, and so I think that was kind of a struggle for us in that, you know, you're just like, okay, what's going on with that other person, you know, and just wondering if, like, Lola, she dated in high school too, and she has a lot to say. No, okay, so anyway, so I think that was, you know, that you could look at that maybe as a struggle or a challenge or whatever in that.
When I went away to college, even though I was close, I was in Chicago, she was still back here at school, you know, in high school. So it was a long distance relationship, even though it wasn't a long distance relationship. And I think those were some struggles that we had, obviously not being together, but staying together.
Right. Was there a time when your trust was broken and needed rebuilding?
There was times I know that I was not as completely open or honest as I should have been in the relationship at certain times, and you know, those things were hard to go through, you know, and obviously the trust was broken and there needed to be a rebuilding process, and that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, and you know, some things I'm not proud of, but some of the things that happened just shouldn't have happened, and obviously that was a rough time for our relationship at certain times.
It wasn't that bad. Like, he makes it sound like he was so.
Well,
I mean, you know, but I'm just saying. So, but yeah, you know, and there is, you know, when trust is broken, whether it's something, you know, big or something small, you know, it just, because there's two people, one person sees it as no big deal, and the other person's like, you know, it's the end of the world, and so in that way, you know, it's trying to be sensitive to each other, and you know, how, you know, him trying to put himself in my place and see how I might feel at the fact that trust was betrayed, and, you know, stuff like that. So it wasn't like with another person or anything like that, you know, so that's what I mean. But, and then, you know, taking time to renew that trust again, you know.
How did you balance your dating relationship with relationships with friends and family?
I think when I was home in the summers or home on break, we spent most of our time, you know, with each other. But we had a group of friends that we hung out with quite a bit, and so we would do that too. But then when I was away at school, obviously I had a different group of friends than she would have friends at home, even though some of those friends at home I would know. So, you know, we would obviously, when I was away, or, you know, we would have our own group of friends. But for the most part, we were pretty, you know, if she wanted to hang out with her friends, I wanted to hang out with my friends, she was pretty okay with that, and I was pretty okay with that. You know, and we understood the importance of not just exclusively being together every waking moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and we didn't have like guidelines for one another, like, you know, and when we're away, you can't, you know, talk to girls, or you can't spend time with anybody. Like, we did not do any of that crazy stuff, because it just, I don't know how that could possibly work, and how he could really be, you know, faithful to that. Like, you know, you're in college and, you know, you're going to be going out with groups of people. You have to, a study group or whatever. And I didn't want him having to worry about that. And the thing is, it's like, you know, I knew that he really cared for me and I was really important to him. And so I just was like, you know, I have to trust in that. And sometimes, yeah, I'd get a little insecure and think, maybe he's finding interest in somebody else, you know, at school or whatever. But I had to just keep going back to, like, you know what, I got to just trust that if this is what God has for us, then, you know, we're going to be together, and it's nothing's going to come between that, you know. I
think you were really good in understanding that God was in control of the situation, and if this was meant to be, then you know, God would let that happen, and if not, then you know, God had somebody else out there for us, which was pretty nice to know, you know.
It was nice to know, because then we could just be cool about things, and we just didn't have to be like so crazy about trying to make the other person be something.
Yeah. How did you view your relationship while you were in high school? I mean, looking back on it, you know, like what you think about it now, but when you were back in high school, how did you kind of view it?
It was just so fun.
Yeah, we had a good
and
time.
Silly and fun and funny. I mean, I think that it was just fun and just funny. I mean, we were just stupid. You know what I mean? You just do crazy things, and you just, you know, you just want to be together, and you just want to have fun, and you have all those, you know, those awesome feelings of caring for somebody, and, you know, it's like all magical and wonderful and everything.
Well, you didn't need the responsibilities of parenting and the responsibilities of life weren't there at that point, so you just enjoyed being with one another and spending time with one another, and we did fun things, we did crazy things, we were just silly.
Goodness, yeah.
I would get kicked out of our house at night because we were being so stupid.
Yeah, my mom
say
would
it's
be
time
like,
to go home.
Because, like, we were just ridiculously foolish.
But it was
so, yeah, really fun.
It was fun.
So light, I would say.
Yeah, more casual than, like,
Definitely.
thinking about marriages.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
but little side note. I'm a female, and every girl is like, I don't know if God just put it in us or what. So you're thinking, this could be my husband, and like I've known him for 2 minutes and he's cute or something, you know what I mean? So like you're writing his last name after I definitely did that.
I never, see guys don't go there, obviously after a significant amount of time, you know, after some time you start going there, but guys don't go there right away, we're girls, I think.
Yeah, I wrote it. My last name, your last name, with my first name and my middle name and my middle initial, different script, so yeah.
All right, this is a real big one for high schoolers. What kind of physical struggles did you guys face? Like, did you set up boundaries and, yeah.
I think we faced the physical struggles that any high school kid would face, you know. Obviously there were times when we would put ourselves in situations where, you know, things could happen, and we tried to control obviously those things, and I think we talked about boundaries, and sometimes it was during the fact, sometimes it was before we got into those situations, but yeah, those things are tough. Those things are tough, you know, and we tried to not spend significant amounts of time alone. We you know, my parents were like, you can't be at her house if parents aren't home, and vice versa, because they had dated obviously in the past, and you put yourself in those situations, those things are a lot more prevalent to happen. But we had boundaries that we had set up, and talked about those throughout different times, you know.
I think that was really key, was that we did talk about it ahead of time, you know, kind of like as the relationship was starting, it was like, okay, this is going to be a relationship, and we went there, you know, like with conversation, we were like, okay, I'm like, I'm not going to have sex with you, you know, and he's like, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, you know, so I'm like, I want to wait till marriage, and he had the same standard, and so, that was good, because then it just, when we were together, we knew that that's what we both wanted, and so, you know, you just knew, since that was already agreed upon, it was easier to, you know, respect one another and, you know, when things were getting heavy, just stop and say, all right, this is not what we want, and let's just, you know, play a game.
Yeah.
We played so many games, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we dated before she was 16.
Yeah.
We group dated, and I could go over to the house and stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously we were usually hung out at your house
Yeah.
or my house until you were able to actually go out and date, because that was the rule. She couldn't date until she was 16. So.
Couldn't go on a date. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't go on a date, but we could be at church together. We went to the same church, same youth group.
Side note, tell them our first date story.
Oh, and our first date, we
First official date.
she was
Now,
16, so we're
16, it's
thinking
my
now we can
birthday.
go date. We went out and we're going to go bowling, and there were leagues. We came back home. And
Yeah, so no. So
Oh,
we're
well,
gonna
you
go
told me.
bowling. Well, you know, you told it, but you told it way too fast. So okay, so we were gonna go bowling. So we were very excited. We're gonna go, you know, bowling and go to dinner and whatever, you know. And so my mom took our picture probably.
Oh, I'm
before
sure.
that. And so that was like our first date. So, and she's like, this kid is hanging around all the time. Thank goodness she can, you know, he can take her out of the house and like, you know, go
Getting tired
somewhere.
of me hanging out.
So anyway, so we go to Land Plains, right?
Yeah.
And they had leagues, and we were like, wow, okay. So we went back home, and I lived in Lansing. My mom's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, they had leagues. She's like, go do something else.
This
Go to a
is
movie.
your first
go.
night that you could be out together
We're like,
alone.
Yeah. So we totally like put our
It's
just
clothes back
kinda
on
goofy,
and
yeah.
left. We were so not good at dating, but anyway.
How much did you change your styles, opinions, or just way of thinking, or everything in general, in order to please your boyfriend or slash girlfriend?
When I read that question, I found that interesting because I don't remember doing that at all.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm more of a, I need people to like me. It's just kind of the way that, you know, so I'm sure I did some things, but not that I wouldn't have done. I'd probably maybe thought more about things that I did that would make her happy or please her. But I don't think we changed to who we were when we started dating. I think we were pretty comfortable
I
with
mean,
who we were together. You know?
Yeah, and I'm sure he opened my eyes to, you know, the sweet ways about him, and I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Maybe I should be more like that or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I better do this to please him.
No, I
It
don't
wasn't
think-
that thought process.
I don't think I went there either. You know?
Yeah, that's probably better. You broke up a few times apparently. Luke's told us. How did you decide to get back together?
Oh, she broke up a few times.
Well, I was
Let me
young.
just tell you the story. I was at Moody. They had quite back in the day when it was just a 3-year college. It was just a Bible institute, and they had some pretty high restrictions. You couldn't, you know, there's things you couldn't do. One of the things you couldn't dance. You couldn't go to dances. So every time I would be at Moody, she'd be back here at TF South, and every time that a dance would come, she would call me and break up with me so she could go to the dance with somebody else.
It's so mean.
But
and
it
I know
was,
it.
it's true.
It is
So
true.
I knew, you know,
I
homecoming's
told
coming
him
up.
I
Here's a week
wasn't-
before. Oh yeah, we need to take some time apart. Well, I find out she's going to the dance, and then that makes you crazy because I'm sitting there in Chicago, and she's out at a fun dance with other guys.
I'm not proud of myself.
So she broke up with me all the time, and then she wanted to get back, you know. And we broke up, you know, from time to time. When I went away to school, we decided not to date, and that didn't work out. We got back together pretty quick.
We loved each other.
Yeah. And, you know.
But you know what? I will say this. I broke up with him, you know, many times for fun times, but you know. But he was so sweet because he goes, you know what, Michelle? Like one time when I called him, probably senior year. But anyway, I called him. I'm like, okay. So he's like, yeah, you're gonna go to a dance, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you know what, Michelle? It's cool. It's fine. He goes, you're in high school. I've done that. I've experienced that. You know, you haven't all the way. And so he's like, you need to do that. And I get it. And it's cool. And it's fine. And I was like, I remember just like hanging up, and I was like, seriously just cried because I was like, he is so just kind
I
and
remember
sweet
saying that.
and understanding. He totally did.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
And I was like,
Because it happened enough. I was good at it.
and his roommates would call me, what'd you say to him? I can't find him. He'd go walking the streets of Chicago, like kicking a
Well,
stone.
my
or something.
roommate was going through the same stuff with his girlfriend at school, so we would go out
Commiserate.
and commiserate together sometimes. Yeah, but I think you know the times that you break up are important, and if God meant you to get back together, we usually.
But that
find a
was
way.
that kind of love that he showed though at that time that he doesn't even remember spoke such volumes to me that I don't think I ever did it again after that because I was like, so sweet.
How did you keep God as the center of the relationship? Like, how did you make it important?
I think that we always knew that obviously we both had a relationship with Jesus Christ, and so I knew we were both Christians and things, and so I knew that and in the early years that's where we spent time was at youth group
We
or
met
doing
at church
things. We
and
met at
stuff.
church and we did a lot of church things together. We served in ministry, in children's ministry in Illiana together in different areas. But anyway, I think that God was always part of our relationship. Was he always the center of our relationship? I don't think all the time. I think you think that he is, and then you go on with your relationship, and then as you look back, you're thinking, I don't know if Christ was always the center of the relationship as much as he should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do remember too that was important to me as a young girl really was he would hold my hand and pray before every meal we ever ate together from the time I was young, 16 say, on. And he always opened my car door, which has nothing to do with the Lord, but was very sweet. And but the fact that he prayed together, I mean, we'd be, whether we were at McDonald's or San Fratello's or, you know what I mean, or at one of our homes, he'd grab my hand and he'd pray, before meals. And I think being young, that was a way, a very evident way, an intentional way to keep God at the center, and that, he would bless our meal, not only, but our time together and blah, blah, blah. And so that was good. And then too, that time serving together, even though it was cool, because like we served in the same ministry, so that same chunk of time, we were both of us unavailable because we're working in this, we didn't really see each other much, we'd see each other in passing, so we weren't working right with the same kids and stuff, but that was, we thought that was a good idea to be serving and giving back and stuff like that, so that was a sweet time.
How do you think that men should treat women, and how do you think women should treat men in a relationship?
Well, I think the Bible is very, very clear on all you do one another's. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, or do to others as you would have done to yourself, whatever. So I think that God's command, even in relationships even in friend relationships, are obviously put the other person in front of yourself. And so I've always thought and was taught that women need to be treated with utmost respect. You open the car door for them, you open the door for them, you lead the relationship the best that you can, and you do those type of things, and I always strive to do that and continue to strive to do that. So I think that women should be treated with the utmost respect. Any woman, I mean, if you're walking into a gas station and there's a girl or a woman walking in behind me, I hold the door, because that's what needs to happen, just to show that you are concerned about one another, concerned about others.
And as far as how women should treat men, I mean, what I think of, when I was in 8th grade, my Sunday school teacher made us memorize 1 Corinthians 13, is it first? Anyway, the love part, love is patient, love is kind, blah, blah, blah. So, and afterward, during, I was like, really, are we going to do this? But I was so thankful afterwards because, I had in my mind what is love, and when I would think of loving him, am I being patient? Am I being kind? Am I being boastful, proud, rude? Am I keeping no record of wrong? Blah, blah, blah. So that was really in my mind as far as love for him, but then just in general how women should treat men or how girls should treat boys, whether high school, whatever. What I tended to think of was respectfully. I think men in general just love to be respected, kindly for sure. Just simple kindness, you know, just not being sassy or rude or whatever, you know. And then in another way too, like not being, for lack of a better word, like in a dating relationship or in general, just like not being a tease. I mean, not, I don't know if that is like even appropriate to say,
No,
but
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like not being like, you know, girls know what I mean. So anyway.
Really? Because I'm not
You're not
fun.
sure? So, because it's just so unfair, really, to guys, because of the way God has wired men.
Do you have any advice for high school students that are thinking about dating or wanting to date or are already in relationships?
I was thinking about that one, and I thought for all three, seriously, have fun, have fun, have fun. And, you know, different things would go along with that. When it comes to dating, thinking about dating, have fun. If it gets heavy, forget it. It's just not supposed to be heavy, you know? It's just supposed to be light, and I wouldn't equate seriousness and being all intense and stuff with love. I don't necessarily think that they're one and the same. So I would say that about thinking about dating, wanting to date but not, still have fun. Have fun where you're at, you know, with your friends and what have you, and be prayerful about it. And I was thinking too that as Christians we have the advantage of knowing that God is in control, and that He's going to bring the right person to you at the right time. And it might not be now, but it's likely going to be within the next few years. And meanwhile, focus on what He's put before you, you know, whether it's friends, whether it's family relationships or service to Him or whatever, you know. I think it's a common thing of human nature to want what we don't have, and then we just so lose focus of all that is, you know, we do have, you know. So.
I think there's a little bit of a strain on you or a expectation of you to date.
Yeah.
You know, well, how come you don't have a girlfriend, or how come, you know, you don't have a boyfriend, or whatever the case may be. So I think that stress adds a little bit to it. But you know, if you want to date and you're looking for somebody to date, that's fine. You know, like I said, I think she said have fun where you're at, enjoy it, because it doesn't last for very long.
Right,
you know,
right.
your times when you're in those situations. But I think, you know, asking God, if you really want to date, you know, if you think that's important. And I think it's important in understanding relationships. I think it's important in understanding the opposite sex. I think it's important in the dynamics that you relate to a girl or a guy. But if you want to, I mean, you can ask God to bring about the right person, you know. And if you don't want to date, then that's fine. You know, you can be happy where you're at. And then if you're already in a relationship, yeah, have fun, you know, enjoy it, enjoy those times, and look at them as a gift, you know, of time together spent, and you're learning about things. I think I look back at my boys' relationships and the girls they've dated; they've learned some very valuable lessons, and they're not dating them anymore, or you know, they've learned some things that they would do differently and would not do differently. I think that's all a part of growing up and dating. Those relationships.
And I would say too, if you're in a relationship already, don't put limitations on each other or guidelines, you know, big time. Just realize you're still two individuals, and you know, just not put too many limitations. I don't know, except for one physical.
Yeah.
Oh my dear, I'll keep you in my arms tonight.